Hope everybody's doing well. Hope it's been a beneficial show. So full disclosure, this is the same presentation that was on the screen yesterday. I only came down with one, jumping in to do a little bit of additional chatting with you guys on the marketing front. I feel most comfortable in a Q&A environment. I love having a conversation. I feel like a lot of this stuff is too much sitting and listening and only getting to ask a few questions. And I like answering real questions that would truly benefit whether it's one person or 10 people in the audience, and just keep it a flowing conversation. So if you have stuff you want to talk about specifically, raise your hand. We'll jump into it in the middle of chatting. I don't think we really was everybody here yesterday that's here today. I don't need to go back through myself, so we can basically skip. I'm not big on talking about myself. Once we heard it, we heard it. I don't necessarily know that we need a lot of these slides, but from a marketing perspective, yesterday I talked about thinking about old problems in new ways. When you're trying to get that competitive advantage and trying to reach new segments of the market. So for us, quite candidly, like this is a marketing tactic for us, right? Like, yeah, I know a lot about the home building business, the home design business, but in this new problem I'm trying to solve with Welcome Homes, coming and getting in front of a whole bunch of people I've never been in front of before, who cover basically the entire country from a flooring standpoint, and who know a lot of general contractors is really interesting. And that proved itself immediately after I got off stage yesterday, because I had a lot of really cool conversations about, hey, when are you going to be in this geo area and when are you going to be in that? And I've got a bunch of business cards now that I can reach out to and say, can you introduce me to this contractor? Can you introduce me to that contractor? We're going to be in this area at this time. We're going to be in this area at the next time. So these are contacts I would have never had I not been down here giving this chat. And it's kind of an atypical way to market our business, because we are ultimately selling to the end consumer, but we need a lot of people in our process in order to make that work. We've got the customer on one end, like we were talking about yesterday. We're in the middle, and we've got the builders on the other end, and we've really got to be able to satisfy both of those equations so that we can operate efficiently and really get to scale as quickly as possible. So from the technology standpoint, were there any questions about how we were kind of operating our platform, or how we were going about trying to sell these homes? So right now, when we launched our second model, we launched a brand new ad campaign. We went with a combination of print. We did Wall Street Journal. We did a bunch of train cars on the MTA, and they all have QR codes that send you to dedicated landing pages. So when we're setting up these campaigns, especially when it comes to the customer journey, for us, top of funnel, it's super important to understand where people come from so that we can quantify what worked and what didn't. So we have very specific tags inside the URLs. So when you scan that QR code, we know exactly what ad you saw and where. So we have the Wall Street Journal code, we have the train car code, and there's two different train car codes. There's the MTA and then there's the PATH trains, so we know what side of the river you're coming from. And then from there, we basically use a software called HubSpot that allows us to track you all the way through. It's a little scary, to be honest with you, how much tracking goes on. But it's really interesting as well from a data perspective, because we can see exactly where people fall off, and exactly where we lose people, and then conversely, when people go all the way through that process to close, we can follow that funnel all the way through. But basically, someone comes to the website, and there's a number of journeys that they can take, because we're still figuring out the best path. We have started with home design first. We've started with land selection first. Land selection first was confusing as hell for most people, because most people aren't home builders. Most people are home buyers. So and most people care about the pretty things that are going to be in their home. So once they get their home set and they're emotionally attached to that thing, it was very much more easier and much more conversion to see people then go and select land, because they had the thing that they wanted, but they didn't have a place to put it. And the next logical step to them was to then put it on the land. So in combination with that, as much as we're talking about technology, I think I mentioned yesterday, there's a point where technology stops. And we're, right now, in the process that we're going through, it's still a very high-touch environment from a person-to-person contact, because we're trying to learn as much as we can about our customers while we're catching up to building enough technology to be able to do everything online. But you can't build it until you really have a very good understanding of the way people are going to be using it. So, our customer experience folks do a lot of communicating. I think I mentioned yesterday as well, I talk to every single customer that goes through the process. They come and they meet with me on the design side for the home, and they meet with one of our land experts on the land team, because there's just a ton of questions around land and how you go about selecting that process, what zoning is like. I mean, in my design conversations, I answer everything from land selection process, if they hadn't met with the land team first, to banking questions, because people just are not accustomed to building their own home in this manner. So when you're first to something, you kind of wind up answering questions all across the gamut there. So does anybody have any specific marketing tactics that they want to talk through? Anything that they have questions on from the presentation yesterday? Again, I don't really want to run through everything that you had already heard, and in stepping in here, I'm just trying to figure out what would be most valuable to all you folks. So rather than me just sit up here and ramble on for an hour.
Thanks. So in your technology, as people are building out what their dream home is, at this point, I know it's early days for you guys. Where are you seeing them drop out? Why do you think they're dropping out?
Yep.
What are you going to do about that? And
Yep.
Are you remarketing to them?
Yeah, so those are great questions. So the number one place where we see people drop out is at land selection. We do not have enough land in enough areas where people want to live right now. How we're combating that? We're specifically going after tear down inventory and rewriting all our algorithms, logic, AI to focus on what it costs to tear down that house, place our house on it, and then go through all the site work stuff that I was talking about yesterday. That is very clear to us. We need more land inventory, because we are finding people they're loving the house, which, great job security for me. I did a good job. And in all seriousness, I mean, it feels good that my gut and the bets that I was placing on the design front are working, and we don't have two problems to solve. How we're recapturing them, we capture everybody who comes to our website who fills out a form to speak with someone. If we lose someone in the land selection process, that means they've been far enough down our pipeline that we have had a physical conversation with them, so we have all their contact details. Most people do not unsubscribe from our land emails. I don't know if I mentioned this yesterday, but in the customer dashboard, once the customer has their account set up, they're able to subscribe to certain areas, so that as new land becomes available each week, they can see that. So they typically stay subscribed, because their home journey prior to following us was pretty miserable. Most people find us by way of giving up on finding the traditional home that they want. Either it's terrible home stock, or they knew it was going to be terrible home stock, but the renovation cost doesn't comp out, et cetera. So we have various drip campaigns, and then specifically if we find something where, let me back up a second. So we classify our leads in 4 or 5 different categories. There's marketing qualified leads, and then as they come down the funnel, they're into sales qualified leads, and we have SQL 1 through 4, depending on their hotness level. I'm sure it's not dissimilar from a lot of what you guys do. And so those people that are SQL 3 plus, if we know where they were looking, and as soon as we have something vetted, so a human being directly reaches back out to them. And we actually just recaptured somebody last week, and it felt really good that they're now back in the process, and they were totally amenable to coming back in. We treated them well. We were honest through the whole process, super transparent. And by doing that, when we reached back out and said, hey, we found something, they were more than willing to talk to us again. So really cool on that front. Thanks. Yeah. Well, you don't have that soft block that you can throw at people's heads today? You're gonna run. You're gonna run. Okay.
I know yesterday you talked about like you can scale, like even like appliances, you have different scales of things. How do you do
Our
that?
trim lines.
Yeah, your trim
Yeah.
lines. How do you convert that into like your flooring, determining paint colors, what options are?
Sure.
Because I mean, appliances are pretty basic, but then when you get into colors, schemes, and different things,
Yep.
it can get really complicated.
Yep. So really simply, we don't. We're young. We know it. And right now, we offer 3 color choices of floor, but it doesn't change your price. And there's not a level up on that flooring. Same with paint. Like the house is painted white throughout. It works with our overall aesthetic. And because I am touching each and every customer, if somebody asks me about a paint color, I just say, yeah, we can do that for you at no charge. Don't worry about it. We will be introducing that. How I'm going to solve that problem, I don't know yet. But I'm thinking about it actively. The first step was actually laying out that trim line document. The next step in my mind is having the technology team build it all into the studio builder so that I can see how a customer actually interfaces with that. And then I will begin to build the logic in my head as to how we will go deeper down that rabbit hole of personalization, customization, and selection. Yeah.
You mentioned before that you're using QR codes for advertising. So what
I mean,
are
something good came out of the pandemic, right?
I
People
was
know how to
thinking the
use them
same
now.
thing. But so what do those ads actually look like? Because I'm a New York City commuter, right? And if I'm running for a train, I'm not scanning a QR code on an advertisement. So how are you grabbing people?
It's
through
in
those
the
ads?
train cars.
Oh, it's on the train
Yeah.
car. Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, we're not in the stations. We're in the train cars.
Okay.
I'm going to
And
bring up a
do you have
photo of it and I'll
metrics
show it.
on
to
like how many people? You have metrics on how many people have scanned those QR
I
codes so
will,
far?
I will by next week, or I will as soon as I request them. But I don't have the answer to that. Where? It's in the general. There's too many channels. Does everybody here use Slack? It's very, here you go. So that's what our, hey, there we are. Is this working? Is that, hello? Oh, there we go. All right. No, we don't need you. I mean, not that we don't love you. You can do one side and we can throw this around the other side. Anybody else? No? Yeah, but the, I mean, the short answer there is, were you specifically looking for the numbers to understand like what we're?
I'm just curious, who you're reaching on.
Yeah.
On train cars, like.
Yeah.
New York City people just like put down in their phone. You're trying not to look at other people on the street.
Totally. Yeah, it was a big experiment for us. It was a big risk. Well, I shouldn't say it was a big risk. It was a bet and it's a big experiment. It's not a risk in the sense that, as I was saying yesterday, the benefit of venture funding is that we can place bets, calculated as they are, but we have money to spend on those things. And, again, I'm a guy coming from a single owner operator background. So to come into a company that has all these different departments and teams and know that everybody has their specialty, it's super fun and super eye-opening for me. Just because, I always tried to be the jack of all trades. I was making my own Facebook ads and, placing this and trying to calculate that and keep up with the metrics. And now, I get to put my head down, focus on design. I know, obviously, the larger picture of the company because I love what I do and it's a necessity in order to make it work, but I don't have to pull all those levers like I used to. So knowing that, Mitch, who's our chief marketing officer, has just got his finger on the pulse of it and is pushing it all forward, like feels really, really good. Yeah. John, did you raise your hand back there, buddy? All right.
I know I talked to you a little bit yesterday
Yeah.
about how you're gonna select your land, and I know you use an algorithm, but I know
Yep.
algorithms aren't always 100% accurate.
Yep.
So when you post that land as the parcels, do you test them before? Because I know you said you have them done in the house is done in 6 months. Are those tested before they're even put on?
No. So the way we go about land, and I know we talked about a lot of stuff yesterday. So one of the things I said about our land that's on our website is we have 90 to 95% confidence in it. So once somebody's interested in that land, we then actually send a surveyor to the property. Once they've made an offer on that property and we know it's moving forward, we don't wait for them to close because the sales cycle with a home is long enough. We want to get it moving. So we take the risk that this deal will go to closing, and we send the surveyor out. They do all the topo and take a full survey, get it back to our civil engineering department, and then we triple verify that it's going to work. But the good news is that everything we have verified in person to date has passed with 100% confidence. So that means all our phase 2 reports that we say we have 90 to 95% confidence in is 100% when it comes down to it. So that's kudos to the tech team, I guess. Yep. Awesome. Cool. Well, go ahead. Did you have a?
Hello? Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Were you going to throw it back at me, or did you want to?
I'm going to ask you.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
What is it actually called?
Welcome Homes?
Like, is that your website? Is Welcome Homes?
Yeah. WelcomeHomes.com.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess I didn't say that yesterday, did I?
Well, I might have missed it.
That's all right. I could have missed it as well. Yeah. So in terms of marketing from my end again, once this session is over, like I'm super interested in chatting with as many people as I can and understanding where you guys all do your work, what contractors you like working with, because we are looking to expand quickly in 2022 and beyond. And as we come to new geographic areas, we definitely want to work with qualified professionals and be able to keep our level of quality high. So if you see me walking around in the showroom or hanging out in the lobby, I would love to grab cards from as many of you as I possibly can, and further the conversation. Yeah.
Okay. Do you ever work with people that already have land?
Yes, absolutely. The only difference there is it takes about 48 hours for us to vet that piece of property. So
48 hours for what?
for us to vet the piece of property that you bring us. So if you have a piece of land, we need to make sure that our house fits on that piece of land. So in order to do that, we just take the parcel, we run it through our land technology, and then one of our civil engineers has a look at it as well, and then we tell you, yeah, we can put our house there, or no, our house doesn't quite fit there based on the zoning rules in your area. Is there somebody? I saw another
I had
hand.
one more question.
Yeah.
From your past experiences, not with Welcome Homes, but
Yeah.
when you see you're doing renovations, where do people get their ideas, or did you kind of help guide them with existing situations of the design of what you're going to do, or did they say, hey, we like this? And when they're designing something, where did the people get a lot of their ideas from on doing things? Because
Sure.
when you're trying to help someone either pick out flooring or something, you're trying to get an idea of where they're trying to go with an end
Totally.
product.
Yep.
So you have an idea to kind of where to direct them, what
Yeah.
style to look for.
It's a great question. That's a great question. And I mean, I think everybody here has got their 101 in psychology and relationship management as well, because we all know that's a big part of design selections for couples in homes. So, I mean, when I was working with private clients, the vast majority of them, when they know they have a renovation coming up, they're watching HGTV. I don't know that most of their design, aesthetic, or selections come from that world, but Instagram, Pinterest, House, those three, probably in that order. I'm either looking at I'm either invited to an Instagram chat with a gazillion photos posted to it, a Pinterest board, or a house board with a bunch of aesthetic choices. And when somebody's not a designer, the nature of what you generally see is a number of images that convey a theme and then some disjointed crap that's kind of all over the board. And those are the things that I generally ask questions about because I'm curious about the outliers. And there's usually something in those images that was like a small detail that they wanted to convey. Most people don't realize that they continually gravitate toward the same aesthetic. And when you put it together in a digital board like that, it becomes very obvious very quickly. So if my clients don't send it to me inherently, I tell them at the onset of when I'm working with them, start putting a board together now. Like we've got to go get through permits. We've got a lot to do here. And while we're in this pre-construction phase, I want to have a jumping off point so that I'm not going to start pulling materials for you and then, I'm over here and you're over here. I want to design in your style. It's not my home, it's yours. I'm here to keep you really from making a mistake. We're going to make this house your own through my expertise. So, encourage clients to come in with those digital boards, encourage them to, if they come in the showroom for the first time, they're looking at stuff, send them home with a homework assignment. Look, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. That was the entire impetus for the Build TV. There is a shitload of work you need to do as a homeowner prior to construction beginning. HGTV doesn't teach you any of that. So these are the things you need to do. And I find that, not just saying, yes, we can do that, and oh yeah, we'll take care of that for you. Saying like, look, your house is your own, good design is personal. Take this homework assignment, take it seriously, and put a bunch of images together. I generally got a positive response from that. People don't just like to be yesed and appeased. You telling them like, hey, listen, this is my domain here, and I really do know what I'm talking about. And if you listen to me, we're going to get you the best product in terms of your overall project, and I will make sure the flooring is everything that it needs to be to match the rest of the design. But if you just come in here and pick your flooring and we don't have all those other layers figured out, not that I'm your interior designer here, I'm your flooring supplier, your flooring contractor, but I care about the way the overall project turns out. I find that usually does a really solid job of conveying the message and helping them through that selection process. Sure. Yeah. Well, there's two different versions of modern country. There's the modern farmhouse I showed you yesterday, and then there's Joanna Gaines. If I see one more piece of effing shiplap in my life, I think I'm going to jump off the stage head first, but it's what people like. I don't know. I really don't know. It's got to be getting close. I've been thinking the housing market's going to correct itself, for the last 5 years now too, and that's not changing. So it's insane. The housing market. Joanna's Joanna, but I don't have a good answer for that one. Some trends defy all logic to me. The thing about there's a lot of things I love about Instagram and Pinterest and the ability to share different ideas and whatnot, but the homogenization of I want it to look like this, meaning somebody else's house, there's just no personality in it. There's nothing unique about it. There's nothing that pulls from your own life experience. It just, I don't know, to me it feels a little blah. Uh-oh.
Listen,
don't get complicated.
I'm going to do something to you that I do to our company. I drive them completely crazy.
Okay.
We start a project, and I start thinking about the next one.
Yeah.
So
well, that's your job.
I understand.
You're on to the next
exactly. I understand that you're building your first house right now, but my question is, with your background, is there any inkling of your company actually getting into renovations, where someone would maybe take pictures of what they're going to renovate and your company uses?
Yes and no.
Okay.
We are thinking about, as I mentioned yesterday, home as a product, but we want to service that product. So we are thinking about renovating the houses we build, though, not that we buy. We want to be, even more than that, we want to be a full service provider. So we're thinking about snow plowing, lawn care, gutters, pool cleaning, HVAC filter changing, light bulb changing, house cleaning, you name it. We want multiple touch points with those customers over the life cycle of the home. trends come and go, right? So when people are tired of that backsplash or want new appliances, we are thinking about that very much. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
makes
great.
sense.
Yeah. But I don't want to go into your, 1950s whatever. No. I don't think that's not scalable. That was my last career.
When people are designing homes, do you see people with different areas of the country, if they're looking at some with totally different taste and design? Like if you get, in the sense of you're from Jersey, New York area, if you had a customer from Carolinas or somewhere in other states, when they're designing, do you ever see a kind of a conflict of the look that you provide to what they're used to seeing or wanting?
So, with respect to me as a designer, or with respect to Welcome Homes, do you mean, and the home models that we're
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
So,
because I mean, over
Sure.
the years you've dealt with different people.
Sure.
But at the same time, you're creating a model of here's your options and these are the looks.
Yep.
Do you ever have anybody that like, can you kind of? I'm not real big on that. Can you tweak this?
Yeah. So when we were, I mean, the most amount of work I did across the country was when we were doing stuff for HGTV because the show traveled coast to coast. We tailored our designs for not only where we were, but the clients that we were serving. There's the geographic area and there's the personality of the person. I've always believed that you're there to give the customer a version of what they want, not to serve your own design ego to create your ultimate project. It's their home, they're gonna live there, it should be a reflection of them. And it should be a reflection of where they live. With respect to Welcome, before I move to Welcome, the one thing that I would say about that is, based on my last comment, I am seeing that become more homogenized just because of social media and like design trends becoming ubiquitous across the country, as opposed to, there's still enclaves, but I feel like those are much more expensive one-off custom homes. I feel like when people are renovating their houses or working on tighter budgets, there's much more of, they're not hiring an architect, a designer, a project manager. They're hiring the architect to get the permits, and they're piecing it together themselves. And in order to do that, they use the digital platforms that are available to them, a lot of the same designs. From a Welcome standpoint, we're very cognizant that right now we have a very specific aesthetic, and the geos that we expand to first, we want that the aesthetic that we have to slot in there without issue. We're going to be expanding that. So some of it, like the modern farmhouse, we're changing the line completely, meaning it's a true modern barn and it's a completely different style of architecture. There will be other circumstances where we keep that Oasis Flex, we change the name of it, reskin the outside so that we can go more traditional, more colonial, but the floor plan stays the same, i.e. we're not redoing all the structure, which is awesome, to make it work for either people's tastes or geographic areas. Yeah, so great question. Yeah, all right.
So I'm coming in from kitchen and bath design.
Sweet.
And you're speaking to having like 3 different package options.
Yeah, I want to expand that, but right now it's 3.
Yeah, for simplicity's sake. And so that's something that we're looking at implementing in our different designs. Can you speak to some of the philosophies that you use to put together those package options and how you can make it reach multiple people?
Sure. The first one is simple. Everybody wants a white kitchen. So we have our white kitchen option. I didn't really want to do it, but I knew I had to do it. Surprisingly, it's not really selected that much. The kitchen with the matte black island and the white oak galley, and the kitchen with the green island and the walnut galley are selected tenfold by people on the website over the white kitchen. So that's really nice to see, just from a personal perspective of not wanting everything to be white all the time. Other than that, honestly, I used my gut, my sense of design trends, and I really designed to the aesthetic that I personally like, knowing that I have the runway to make other design choices if these didn't work. And because everything's online and because there's data and tracking on everything, I would know pretty quickly if people are dropping off and really not liking it. I mean, it's incredible to see the heat maps within the studio builder. You can literally see what people are clicking on. So where there's 3 little dials in the bottom of the screen that have your ability to change those kitchen designs. And you'll see, one will be super bright red that people are always clicking on. So I have the benefit of that data. But like, for example, when I introduced the 4th kitchen design, it's going to be me sitting down thinking about the next kitchen I would want for myself and making that happen. And I'm going to see if other people like it. And that's the beauty of having these lifelike renderings now. Like, you can do that, not spend any money other than your own man hours doing it. And, you can print a really nice big poster for the front of the store, or, have a touch screen out there and let people play with it. And you can get a lot of feedback without having to really do a physical installation of anything. Cool, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Awesome.
I have a question.
Shoot.
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask one, but we're
Yeah.
just going to ask it.
There's no
one
rules
has their
here.
hand up. So since you said, especially with social media, it's become very, harmonious across the board. Is there any specific trends that you've seen, over the last 10 years that, like you said, the white kitchen, but there's like something that has always been constant throughout any of the homes or kitchens, anything that you've designed?
The only thing that's constant in design is change. I mean, it's always changing, and it's changing because companies push new trends so that they can sell new products and things change. I'm somebody who, when I'm chatting with private customers and knowing that, it's a massive expense for people to do a renovation, I'm always looking at timeless type design. I mean, even the homes that we have here for Welcome, I mean, that matte black and white oak, like, that's here to stay. That's not going anywhere. Trends now are lasting a decade plus. I mean, we're just talking about the modern farmhouse, quasi-modern farmhouse. It's been around for ages now. I mean, the only thing that I find constant on social media is the toxicity of it all. But it's a necessary evil, and we've got to be out there promoting and making sure we're using it to our benefit. But I guess a note on that, and it's something I think I missed in my presentation yesterday that I did want to note. So thank you for sparking the thought. One of the tools we're utilizing in terms of marketing for Welcome and bringing outsized value without expecting anything in return is this idea of becoming a thought leader in your space, and that simply means, from a blog component, from your Twitters, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, having a really cohesive message that is educating the customer, but not just educating them on the product you're trying to sell, educating them in a real way about the best possible course of action to take when they're going to do a rip and repair, or they have water damage on their floors. What can be repaired? What needs to be ripped out? I don't know, you guys are going to know the topics better than I am, but providing that information so that, look, let me put it in terms of Welcome. I don't think that everybody that's on our social media is looking to buy a house tomorrow. They were attracted to the ad by the design of the home or by something funny we said or whatever, but we've got their attention for a short amount of time. So if we can teach them about the home buying process, if we can teach them ways to vet contractors when they're doing their own renovations, all the information I give on the build, we're translating over into blog posts for our welcomehomes.com blog, so that we could just educate people about the best way to find a home, renovate a home, repair a home. When that person's ready to buy a new home, the first people they're going to think about are the people that have been giving them information for free for years. Those guys at Welcome, they helped me get through a renovation. So that's what I mean when I say become a thought leader and put out content that's going to benefit people. This is stuff you already have in your head, you already know. And there are softwares out there now, if you're unfamiliar with them, that you can, for example, sit down and record a 5-minute video talking to camera. You can take that video and upload it to rev.com if you're not familiar with it, REV. It will pull every last word you say, 100% accuracy, and give you a Word file back. You can then take that Word file, maybe pull out a few things that didn't make sense because you needed a visual in the video medium to convey it. Pull those things out or take a screen grab from your video and paste it in so it does work. Now you've got not only the YouTube video, but you've also got the blog post. So you've just doubled the amount of eyeballs that you can get on this content. So things like that I find are really, really valuable. Not just more posts to fill the interwebs with, not just the posts of the floor or the posts of the house. Like what we try and do a lot of, and I was talking to our social media manager about this, we educate people about the why behind the product we selected. Why did we select a Train HVAC system? Why are we doing coil over HVAC, and what does that mean? Tankless boiler, recycle rock wool insulation, all these different things, the whys behind them. Rock wool is a fireproof insulator, a fireproof insulation. It's 100% recycled, made from rocks. Sound attenuation qualities are absolutely incredible. These are things that people find value in. And it doesn't cost us anything. It's already up here, so we just get it out and we share it with them. So that thinking about that level of education for folks in a fun way, in a cheeky kind of way, I find really helps grow the audience and really helps when that person is looking for the specific thing that you provide. That's the thing that's going to trigger in their head, like, oh, I got value out of this person before. Let me go back and see if they have the thing that I need. So hopefully that's helpful.
Perfect. And we have time for one more question. If anybody wants to ask the golden question to wrap
Oh
up
boy,
the session.
the golden question. I didn't know we had a golden question.
You got it? There you go.
From start to finish,
Yeah.
what is the timeline?
What's the start?
From the time that you commit to building, what is your timeline to finish the project?
So from the day we get permits, it's 6 months. Right now, Board of Health approvals are ranging for me from 2 days to 4 months. It sucks. We've got one client hanging on by a thread because we didn't manage their expectations properly up front. They are nervous to begin with, just in the personality. So we're trying to manage that, trying to see that through with them. Again, this is where that venture backing comes in. The CEO is stepping up. We're buying the property for them, and we're going to convey title just to make sure that they don't lose the property and that we can see it forward. But it's something that we are transparently telling customers. We can tell you your timeline from the day we get a building permit to the day we finish it. We cannot guarantee how long it's going to take to get that permit. We cannot guarantee how long it's going to take to get that certificate of occupancy because they're municipal authorities. But here's what's general, and also here's what our worst case scenario has been so far. So that's the way we're going about it. It's just hyper transparency and trying to manage expectations in the best way that we can. Sales cycle is about 2.5 months right now. Most people come to us after they've seen anywhere from 3 to 10 houses. They're fed up, they're done, and they are excited about the prospect of mostly, aside from the design, they're mostly excited about that locked-in price, like knowing that they don't have to deal with a contractor, they don't have to deal with a change order. The price that we put down is the price that it is, and that's so. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging with me again. I'm sorry I didn't have a separate presentation prepared for this. Again, I was kind of jumping in and excited to chat with everybody more. If there are additional questions, again, I'll be hanging around, happy to hang. And if you're interested in working with Welcome, we are interested in chatting with you guys further. Thanks again for the time. Appreciate it.